What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are back with another episode of Lions Latest, going to the latest Detroit Lions news. And today, we are here with some Lions news. The Detroit Lions have announced they are re-signing linebacker Jalen Reeves-Maybin to a 2-year deal. So let's get it started. Welcome, ready to another video. Glad you guys are here. And yes, we are back with some breaking Detroit Lions news. Depending on when you see this video, I'm going to try to keep this video short and sweet. That way I can get the news out as fast as I can. I was not home when I saw this news, so I was like, yo, I got to get back home. Got to post this to the people to let them know what just took place. And that was Jalen Reeves-Maybin reportedly being re-signed to a 2-year, $8 million deal, according to Bleacher Report, to return to the Detroit Lions as a core special teamer. And according to Bleacher Report, this is the largest deal to a core special teamer that we've ever seen. With that being said, we know that he adds more value than just being a special teamer. However, that is a majority of where he's played for the Detroit Lions, and specifically this past season, starting in week 1 all the way through week 18, he played a massive role for the Lions on special teams, well over 300 snaps on special teams, 9 tackles, earned great grades on special teams. But what stands out to me about what Jalen Reeves-Maybin brought to the Lions, specifically this past season, was when he started to play defensively for us. And it started in week 13 against the New Orleans Saints, and it was immediate. It was like, yep, that guy should play more. I can remember we did a takeaways video like we did every week, for the most part, for most of our games. And one of the key notes that I walked away with from that New Orleans Saints video was like, yo, Jalen Reeves-Maybin needs to continue to get snaps. To not be a one-game thing, the guy should continue to see the field on the defensive side of the ball. And the value that he really added to me, I think a lot of times when we think about third down, sub-package usage, we think about what they're going to bring as a pass rusher. Like, oh, man, is he really getting that kind of heat? But for him, it was a little bit different. It was what he was bringing in coverage. And specifically defensively, that's where we saw a majority of his snaps take place. 62 of his 92 regular season snaps in coverage. You look at the postseason alone, 23 of his 29 snaps in coverage. That's where he played a significant role for the Lions, and he played really well here. And it was immediate to me just in terms of communication alone. It was like, yep, he's on point. He's not leaving guys wide open, because weeks prior, there was occasions of like, okay, nobody's covering him. That's fine. We're just letting him go for some reason in zone coverage, underneath coverage. Now, in fairness, we had a lot of young guys. Like our linebacker unit outside of Alex, which is usually where he's supposed to be, we had a lot of young pieces, and Jack Campbell was kind of rolling, and then he was moving back to, okay, now he's playing off-ball linebacker, and he settled in. He got better and better, and he finished the season really darn strong with the Lions, and we're super excited about that upside. And then you had Derek Barnes, who was kind of like, okay, now he's playing a little bit of like that Sam backer role a little bit. Then we started getting Malcolm Rodriguez back to the mix a little bit, another big-time special teamer on this defense. But it was Jalen Reeves-Maybin. Interesting aspect with bringing a guy like Jalen back with the linebacker group that we have is exactly figuring out where his role falls in, specifically defensively. I think in a perfect world, probably doesn't have much of a role because, you know, your youth continues to develop. Barnes maybe has his best year, those kind of things. But we did see that it wasn't like every third down Jalen was the answer. Like third and long, sometimes we wouldn't put that linebacker on the field. If it was only one, it would be Alex Anzalone, put an extra DB. We saw some 3 safety looks in the playoffs with CD Deuce back spots where it was like, okay, third down, it'd be Derek Barnes. Maybe he would blitz. Maybe he would drop into coverage. Early in the season, it was some Malcolm Rodriguez, right? And we even seen some Campbell mixed in. But it was like certain sub-package looks. It was like, hey, if we want to go man coverage, a lot of times it's like we trust Jalen Reeves-Maybin in those spots. Second and long, let's go sub-package. You put Jalen in those spots. So he just gave you kind of a nice little piece. And then on special teams, it was not only is he playing in all these units and he's making tackles and he's effective, but it was then on the punt team. And I think what's so key about this is that, first off, the Lions use this in big games. Like you think about the games, you know, when they first got here, the LA Rams, I can remember that one, or where it felt like, okay, they were going to need to make some special things happen. Special teams was crucial. That was a big difference for them. We know Dave Phipp's been great here, but LA Rams, it was like, hey, we need some of these plays that are like a little bit off script to make this thing interesting. Then this past season, we're matching up with teams well, still in these big games, whether it was just a big momentum shift, our offense was struggling out of the gate, or we just needed something to shake the game up, we looked at special teams, and sometimes it did not hit, right? Green Bay, we came out of the half, we did it, and it was like, oh, that was really bad. And you watch, you're like, that probably didn't make any sense. It felt like predetermined, we're going to do this. We're struggling offensively. We've made some mistakes. We've fallen into a hole. We're going to change the game like this. But for that one bad time, there's also the big plays, and they lean into that, whether that's Jalen Reeves-Maybin running for a first down against Kansas City, where it was like, all right, here we go offense. We ended up, I think, scoring on that drive. Here's the fake punt. We're going to go score. And it was like, that was huge. Then you look at the Dallas game, and I don't even think we scored on this possession, but that was like one of the best dots of the year. I mean, that thing like faded and everything. He threw an absolute dime. times. So playing that personal protector role, special teams has been bigger than just it's special teams. That's been a lot of times what shakes games, especially against these really good teams. So that's something going forward I think the Lions look to is like, that's a weapon for us. In big games, we trust our special teams. We keep you on your toes because that can be a difference for us in the game is what those guys do, and they trust those players. And I wouldn't be shocked that there's certain things we see where they just put it in their players like, hey, if you see this, you have the freedom to do that. I'm not saying they do, but it wouldn't shock me because we know that these are coaches that put it in their players' hands, and I'm sure they trust guys like Reeves-Mabin to do things like that, to play all these different roles for. Now, if you're like me, in a way, it kind of feels like the NFL season is just getting started, right? We're talking about free agency today, and trust me, you click this top link, there's going to be a lot of free agency betting you can get involved in, like where this next guy's landing spot could be. But for me, man, the NFL draft, as big as that event is, it feels like the NFL season is just getting started, man. I absolutely love it. I've been just diving into it in the background. We got some draft content coming very soon. But because of that, I want to make sure that you guys don't miss out on this amazing offer. If you click that top link in the description and use code JOIN125, the number 125, JOIN125, you can get a 125% match on your first 3 deposits up to $2,500 and a 10% gambler's insurance on your net losses if you are active every 6 months. And I want to say this and really point this out because right now on BetUS, we're over here on their website and you can see all the options that they have: casino games, sports book, all of the sports on the left side of the screen. Basketball's in full swing. March Madness is about to take place, which unfortunately, as a Michigan basketball fan, it's been a struggle, but you never know. Maybe we go with the Big Ten. I mean, no, I don't know. We're probably going to win like 12 games, like 6 games or something to make that happen. So I kind of doubt it, but for some reason, I still have a belief. I said this last night to myself. I'm like, you know what? Weird enough, as bad as we are, I still believe they're going to do it. We'll see. I don't know. However, you can see there's betting props over here, and the one that stands out to me is this because it might be the best opportunity to take advantage. Caleb Williams minus 1,000. That's the money line on him being the first overall pick. And if Chicago stays to number 1, we're seeing some of the rumors that Chicago's interested in Caleb Williams. So we heard a lot of things. Maybe they're not doing that. Maybe we're keeping Fields, but it's now starting to sound more and more clear that it's going to be Caleb Williams. So this might be the best odds that you get it at to make some money if you just want to maybe in your own way believe that you can make some easy money on taking Caleb at number 1, regardless of who that is. Taking him at number 1, this might be your best chance to make an easy money on Caleb Williams where it's at minus 1,000. The other one that I think is just interesting is Drake May at plus 600. It's not a crazy line, and maybe you're one of those that believe that Chicago's going to go right back down to North Carolina pipeline for whatever reason to take Drake May, shock everybody, or Marvin Harrison at plus 1,000. I almost feel like in a way Marvin Harrison's more likely because it's like, I don't know. Like, if they're going quarterback, they're going Caleb Williams. So, to me, one to showcase this, don't miss out. At minus 1,000, this might be your best opportunity to make some money on him going number 1 overall, Caleb Williams. So, maybe this is the time to jump on it. There's also some other ones in here that could just throw people off. Really only the top 3, I think, are legitimately possible. But, who knows? They could use an offensive lineman. Reliable piece. You saw it in the playoffs, like the big plays that he was making in the red zone. He's flying, taking away guys in coverage. And to me, this was like almost one of those no-brainer, like, re-signings when we did this on Bleacher Report, like, looking at who the Lions had as unrestricted free agents coming up. It was like, I'm definitely bringing back Jalen Reeves-Maybin personally. I just didn't know at what price point. Now, what's important to keep in mind about that price point is, as we know, usually when these deals are first reported, they're not really that large as they're initially reported. We look at it, we're like, oh my goodness. And then it comes back, it's like, okay, it's really not that crazy. Now, sometimes that total value, like in this case, 2 years, $8 million, will actually reach $8 million, but it's usually not as crazy or as daunting as it seems. It's not going to be like this year he's getting paid $4 million. Usually it doesn't work out like that, especially with the Lions. They usually backload their contracts. Now, I would say that this isn't the worst time to say, maybe we front load that thing a little bit. Like, let's put more of the cap this year if we really want to keep him for the 2 seasons. And then we kind of lighten a little bit of next year just because of where our contracts are going. We're not really paying a lot of guys defensively. You're essentially paying one linebacker at Alex Anzalone because now he's on the second year of that 3-year deal he was given. You also have Jack Campbell as a rookie. He's just getting paid on the rookie contract as an 18th pick in the draft. And the defensive line are really not paying anybody yet. I mean, it's basically just rookies and where they were picked. Like, Aleem McNeil's not really getting paid until after the season when he gets that extension. Then he'll start to get paid. Aiden Hutchinson as a rookie, number 2 pick in the draft, he's getting paid because of that. But you're really not paying a lot of pieces defensively right now, especially within that front 7. May not be the worst time to say, maybe we just put a little money in the front end instead of backloading it. Now, we recently saw a deal similar to what this could look like in John Kaminsky 2-year, $8.5 million deal. Would not shock me if it looks something like that. Now, the issue that you run into there is that second year a lot of times can kind of turn into, is he going to be here or is he not? The positive for the Lions is it leaves them a real out, because the first year usually they put the cap number really low, and it's like, okay, we're not really even feeling that this season. And then the next year you're like, oh, that cap number is really going to rise. So then you become in a situation where it's like, okay, well, do we move off the player or do we keep him on a higher cap number? And like I said in our last salary cap video, it's all about the timing. So right now with the Lions not really paying anybody defensively, especially in that linebacker room, and there's no one that's really coming up that's probably going to put a significant, like, bam, we're really having to deal with this. Derek Barnes, if he gets extended, is he really going to affect the cap in a major way? Probably not early within an extension. Then you have a guy like, again, Alex Anzalone, who was getting paid this year and next year, depending on if the Lions keep him around. I'm sure he'll be around this year, and then we'll have to see about next season. But if it's something like that Kaminsky contract, he'll probably have a lower cap number this year. He'll probably have incentives, and then next season it'll probably be, there's an out, but his cap number is going to rise. Now, we've also seen that the Lions have put value to paying special teamers, so it's not just his defensive role. It is what he does for them on special teams, and we've seen them throw value to this, whether that be Khalif Rain before the season. He obviously gives us a lot more value as a receiver as well, but the extension that he gave him, CJ Moore, who before having his contract terminated, he was given a nice little deal with the Lions, not to this extent, but he was given a nice little deal to be extended as a special teamer, a backup safety. So we've seen the Lions throw value to special teamers, core special team pieces. And again, this year with Jalen Reeves-Maybin, whether that was trick plays, whatever that was, Jalen Reeves-Maybin was massive. And then defensively, again, in coverage, you look at the numbers, even though it's not a massive sample size, regular season, 8 for 5 in terms of completion percentage allowed, to also an 89.6 passer rating. Always feel good about him in coverage. And then defensively as well, like, he's always, to me, just been a big-time playmaker. Right before he left to Houston, he signed that 1-year kind of prove-it deal where the Lions financially maybe didn't feel like they could necessarily pay that after what he did in his first season here in 2021, where it was like, all right, he's a carryover, is this going to work? And I was like, yeah, that was his best season. Jalen Reeves-Maybin was an absolute difference maker. 82 total tackles that season, 4 passes defended, had some key forced fumbles. And then he went on to Houston, signed over a $5 million deal, didn't really play much defensively, was kind of a core special teamer, so he didn't last, comes back to the Lions this past season, then he gets thrown into the mix defensively at the end of the year, and he plays really well in limited snaps, but he was still legitimate, consistently successful on special teams, big-time special teams playmaker for us, played on every special teams unit outside of outside of the field goal formation where you're blocking as an offensive lineman or tight ends, you usually see thrown into that. He played on every single other unit for us, so as a key special teamer that has the ball in his hands a lot in those spots for us, Jalen Reeves-Maybin makes a ton of sense that he was brought back on this deal. So I would say the biggest risk with Jalen is that if you're re-signing him and extending him thinking that, man, he's going to make up this contract based on what he's going to add defensively, it may not end up being worth that. Now, I know he can play defensively because the truth is he's been with the Lions a lot, but this regime, this coaching staff, he's been by far his best in the league. Just to fit schematically, when they came in here, he fit even better, had his best season in the NFL. Special teams playmaking, he's been at his best with this coaching staff that he's been in the NFL, by far. He's just been a playmaker for the Lions. But is the value ever going to live up to a big deal? Probably not. Again, I don't think the deal is going to be that crazy, and you probably don't want it to be that he's playing a ton defensively, because then the young guys probably aren't taking some of those steps. But he's reliable with injuries and special teams. He's just a difference maker. Reeves-Mabin has been brought back on a 2-year deal. I absolutely love it. I'm glad that he's back in the building here, and it does make sense based on what the Lions have done. So we'll figure out the numbers and all those things a little bit more as we get more information, more details on the contract. But for now, Jalen Reeves-Maybin has been re-signed on a 2-year deal back with the Lions, and I think for a guy like this that's reliable, all 18 games, playoffs, a ton of sense that the Lions would bring this guy back. That's another example of re-signing their own, and now the linebacker position looks pretty darn good, especially at off-ball linebacker. So I'm going to leave it there. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you, Prop, for watching, and I'm out.